So if you were raised by somebody like me, who is, through the weird experience of my life, a bit of an oddball and a bit of an idealist, and with a strong philosophical leaning, and I think it's important that kids are prepared for adulthood very consciously and very deliberately. And I used to do that as a job. So if I had kids, or if you had been my child, I would be saying to you, stand up for yourself. You must fight for what you want. You must also ask for what you want. You must be polite. You must be boundaried. This is how to be in the world. And I would tell them how to do that with my words. And those words would play forevermore inside their heads. What an advantage kids with good parents have. I would also instill in them, through the cunning use of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis, through just being around them and loving them, just through giving them my love. I would go, oh, I love you. And they would go, oh, he loves me. And then they would feel good. They would feel calm. They would feel safe. They would feel secure, because that's the way it's supposed to be. That's in accordance with nature. You're not supposed to compete with your kids. You're not supposed to hate your kids. It's a perversion and a corruption against nature. This is a psychology video. It sounds a little bit spiritual and a bit philosophical, what I just said, but I stand by it. So that you would be fine. And also, so you'd be instilled inside of you good feelings, and strong feelings backed by positive words that run inside your head, because it's what I've said to you and it's how I've treated you. So if I treat you well and you go, oh, he loves me, so therefore I must be lovable. My mother and my father love me, so therefore I'm lovable, so therefore I'm okay. Then I'm okay runs inside my head for the rest of my life. If I treat you disparagingly and call you a dickhead all the time, then you'd be like, oh, daddy doesn't think very much of me. I must not be okay. There must be something wrong with me. I'm a dickhead. So he or she will literally say the words, I'm a dickhead, or they will imply from how I treated them what they are, and they will form the words themselves. I'm worthless. And then they will feel bad. I like to do things that are unconscious because they work much more elegantly. They require no remembrance that this is happening. They require no effort on my part to actually do something about what is going on. I can just get on with my day, and the unconscious just sorts all of this stuff out for me. That's why I'm recommending unconscious training of the unconscious, using hypnotic language patterns. If you don't like hypnosis, we won't call it hypnosis, you could say visualizations. And the way to do it, instead of by fighting, I'm calling it flooding. So this whole process is parental inner parent repatterning. You have recordings playing that are patterns, that are literally, and I'm using the word literally correctly here, neural pathways that have been laid down through trauma and repetition in your childhood when you had a lot of brain plasticity. The most brain plasticity that you will ever have in your life was when you were a little child and your brain was just open and just ready to learn. Everything that we do, the way our whole brain works, is through association, through neural associations. The color green is like grass. The blue is like water. I don't know. So this is like that, and that's how a connection is formed. So these recordings are here, and we need to change the actual neural pathways that are firing off, that are creating these emotional flashbacks, that are causing the words to fire off. This is all unconscious, by the way. So how far are we going to get fighting an unconscious, a non-conscious impulse? You've been doing this since childhood, or it was done to you since childhood. These are running, these are firing. You're an expert in running these neural pathways. They're very, very well trod. And now I'm saying, well, we need to get rid of them. So what do you do when you want to lay down a new neural pathway? Do you need to go in there and chop these out? No, because your brain is extremely clever. You know, all of us are pretty good at intricately mapping a physical terrain. It's not really designed for mapping the emotional terrain. It's not really designed for mapping trauma, which is why trauma exists in a weird, hard to see place, which is why you get a sense of relief when I draw stuff out like this and you go, that looks quite simple. This issue I've been living with for such a long time, he makes it look quite straightforward. It gives you relief because then when something is straightforward and it's laid out in front of you, like as you're sat there right now, I'm tiny. In real life, I'm not this small, right? You know that, right? This is a screen. And this also becomes small. We know from NLP, from neuro-linguistic programming, when things are made smaller, it makes you feel calmer about them and like you're in control of them. So this is all we're dealing with. We're not going to consciously fight these recordings to try and get new neural pathways laid down. That's not how the brain works anyway. You don't have to go in and kill neural pathways before you can grow new ones. No, that's wrong. It does not work like that. I'm not a neurologist, and this is way outside of my field of expertise, but I know that that's not how the brain works. If you want to learn tennis, you don't have to kill the neural pathways of ping pong in order to get there. What are we going to do with this? We're going to flood it. We are going to flood the unconscious with new messages and a new idea. Exactly what those messages are and what the new idea is, I'm going to explain to you now briefly because it's weird, but I need you to understand why we're going to do this weird thing before we do it. When you're doing the visualizations, the hypnotic repatterning process, self-hypnosis, I'm going to teach you in 2 easy steps. Go into a relaxed state. Nobody under hypnosis has no idea what's going on. That never happens unless you're using drugs to hypnotize people as well, in which case it's not really normal hypnosis. You'll be fully aware of everything that's going on. You'll just be relaxed. How relaxed? In order for hypnosis to work, I used to do, some people do 10-minute long inductions to get people relaxed and into trance. Because of NLP, I was taught to do fast inductions, and we would be like, oh, just a minute is long enough. A minute is unnecessary. 5 seconds is quite enough. There's only a depth of trance that you need to go to for clear, plain, simple messages to go in, and it's not deep. So say, for example, as you're sat there right now, I'll give you a really, really simple thing. Look at your hand, look at the swirls and the patterns on your hand. Take a deep breath in, let your eyes defocus, and listen to me now. You're now in a very, very super light state of trance. It's just a slightly altered state of consciousness, and you'll be thinking, am I? This just feels like normal consciousness. Inside of your head, all you need to do now is, not out loud, inside your head, say, I can learn to feel better now. I can learn to feel really good now. And stop. Eyes open, back in the room, everything's fine. That whole process took about 25 seconds. And you'll be totally underwhelmed by it. You'll be like, that's not hypnosis. I've seen it in films. People go into a trance and they wake up, and then you go, the yellow mockingbird flies in June, and then they go and kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia. That's how hypnosis works. It's nonsense, boys and girls. It's total gibberish. Go into a very light state of trance, give yourself a clear message, not in the negative. So you would never say, don't feel bad now. You'd say, feel good now. That's it. This self-hypnosis I just taught you inside of probably about 3 minutes, relaxed, clear messages, over and over and over again. The over and over and over again bit is important. In parts therapy, it is assumed that every part has a positive intent. In this case, the part of you that is operating came purely from trauma and it has no positive intent. It is looking to destroy you. I'm not trying to frighten you, I'm just telling you that you must take this seriously. So when we are visualizing and when we're doing the hypnotic process, I'm going to be asking you to flood yourself with positive and loving messages, but you're going to be imagining that you are a child, and that means you're short, and that these loving messages are coming, you're knee high to a giant, and the giant is behind you, and that is either mummy or daddy. When you do the exercise, I suggest you choose which parent you think did the most damage to do this with first, and you're going to reimagine that parent, and you're going to imagine them behind you, much, much taller than you, and that these are internal representations. It's to take you back to childhood. If at any point it brings you into an emotional flashback, stop. Don't push through it. Just stop the whole process. Take a time out, deal with the emotional flashback, And then in your own time, only as quickly as you're comfortable doing it, try it again. So you're going to imagine receiving these messages from a loving parent who is bigger than you. Don't ask me why this is important, just trust me, it's important. And they're going to be giving you these messages. It is to put you back in childhood, in a childlike state, which means you won't be able to refuse them. If we don't do it like this, the inner critic will jump up and block it and go, no, we're not having that. The inner critic is a manifestation of the bad parent. So imagine right now you have two gods above you. Sorry if this is offensive to some people. You have a good one and a bad one. If we don't do it like this, if we don't put the good God above you, but we put them next to you, the bad God will block them. I'm using God metaphorically. This is not a spiritual course. This is all psychology. This is just how we process it as human beings. If we try to send messages to you as the ego today, then what will happen is the inner critic will jump up and say no, no. But when we do it like this, where we imagine that it's a parental figure, I keep saying God, parent, figure above us, saying it down, the inner critic won't be able to stop it. It bypasses the inner critic, it also bypasses the conscious mind, and it will work straight away. I then just need you to remember to be doing it frequently. Thank you.